So you want to know how to condition your knees. Well, today I'm going to take you through our intermediate progression for knee conditioning and teach you how to bulletproof those knees, fix any injuries that you've had, and make sure that you never get injured again. As always, stick around to the end because I'm going to reveal the biggest mistake that people make when doing these routines. All that and more coming up.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.
Down on Yanni's computer, Miles. Hey everyone, in case we haven't met, my name is Rad Burmeister. I'm the co-founder of Unity Gym and the co-creator of the UMS, the Unified Movement System, formerly known as the FMS, where we teach you how to nourish and move instead of diet and exercise. And today, I'm going to be taking you through our intermediate knee conditioning workout. So for those of you that watched yesterday, this is going to be a progression. We're doing some harder stuff. Now, as always, if you're tuning in, leave a comment for me. Let me know where you're watching from so I can give you a shout out. And if you've got any questions, put them in the comments section so that I can answer them for you straight after we've gone through this workout. Okay, Richie, you ready to go? Let's get out on the gym floor and get this routine done. So, knee conditioning, if you didn't tune in yesterday, it's really simple, and the big insight for knee conditioning training is that you just need to keep it simple and you need to do repetition. There's only really three major muscle groups that are going to affect knee stability, and that's the calves, the quads, and the glutes, okay? The hamstrings obviously are a big part of the knee structure, but we always train the hamstrings as an opposing movement, as an antagonist for the knee extensors. So what we're going to be working on is strengthening the VMO, the oblique portion of the vastus medialis. That's responsible for inward knee tracking, so that's a really important part of knee conditioning. We're also going to strengthen the calves because the gastroc does cross the knee, the big part of the calf there. And then the hip stabilizers, so the glute med is also a really big part of this because if the hip is unstable, that causes instability in the knee as well. So, the progressions from yesterday, what we're going to do is a heel elevated step up. Okay, some people call this a Poliquin step up. I've heard it called other things as well. I just call it a heel elevated step up. So from here, what I'm doing is I've got my heel elevated. If you don't have one of these Gucci little steps like what we've got at Unity Gym, you can just grab a couple of 5 kilo weight plates will do the job for you. And we're going to make sure that the ball of the foot is on the aerobic step. And then from here, we're just doing our steps like this. If you have a look at my left foot, the toes are pulled up so only the heel touches the ground, and I never actually shift the weight into my left leg. So I'm always going to keep the weight in my right leg so that I'm getting maximum recruitment of the quadriceps here. With this one, you don't actually have to turn your toes out like for the one we did yesterday. As long as your hips aren't wiggling around and your back is straight and the weight doesn't go into this leg and the knee tracks forward over the toes, then you're doing it right. Okay, so progressions for the hamstring curl. Today what we're going to do is a single leg hamstring curl. So this is a hell of a lot harder than the bilateral hamstring curl. So I'm going to put one leg on the fit ball, the other leg's going to go up in the air, lift my bum up, pull in hard, and then out slow. Pull in hard, out slow. In hard, out slow. It's a lot harder than the bilateral one that we did yesterday. So if you're still struggling with that, you need to do a little bit more with that one. Then we're going to move on to hip stabilization. So for hip stabilization, we're going to be doing, these are called single leg squats. Don't ask me why. When I was taught this by Tony Battaglia, it was called a single leg squat, and people always ask me what the name of an exercise is, and my answer is always, will it make you better at the exercise if you know the name? And of course, no, it's not going to make you better. So who cares what it's called, as long as you remember it so you know what to do. So from here, this is a single leg squat. We're going to bend forward at the hip, then a little bit of a bend at the knee, and then standing up straight, driving the hips forward. So it's a deadlift pattern. It's exactly the same movement pattern as what we did yesterday with the single leg kettlebell deadlift. But because I've now got the load on my shoulders, it changes the leverage. So when I'm holding the kettlebell down here, the leverage, the weight, the center of gravity is much lower, and my arm is free to move around, which helps stabilize me. When I bring the weight up onto my shoulders, it raises the center of gravity, makes you less balanced, And because my arms are on the barbell, I don't have my arms free to help stabilize me. So it's much, much harder on the hip stabilizers. I forgot to tell you rep ranges as well. This is 30 reps you want. You can load it up with dumbbells. If you put dumbbells in your hands, that's a good way to load that up. But you want to get 30 reps on this one. On this one here, between 5 and 9 reps. The hamstrings are predominantly fast twitch muscle fibers, so you need to do low rep range, higher intensity. So even if you're just getting 5 reps, you're still going to create excellent growth in the hamstrings. Whereas on the VMO, there's different muscle. We have fast twitch and slow twitch muscle fibers in the same muscle group, and what we're trying to hit is the slow twitch muscle fibers in the quadriceps, the ones that are more responsible for knee stabilization, not so much responsible for explosive movement. Same here, we're going to be doing 20 repetitions on this one, 3 sets of 20. Again, because we're trying to hit the slow twitch muscle fibers of the gluteus medius, which is the part of the glutes which is really responsible for hip stabilization. Now, we're going to move on to calf raises, and today all we're going to do, the main difference from what we did yesterday is that I'm just going to do a single leg calf raise. Yesterday we did a bilateral calf raise, whereas today it's just going to be a unilateral. So I'm going to hold on to a weight in my right hand, go down as low as I can, stand up, hold for a second, back down, hold for a second, up. It's not actually a full second. It's just pausing for a moment in time to make sure that you get full plantar flexion and full dorsiflexion. So basically what that means is just going as low as you can and going as high as you can so you get full range of motion. This one is definitely a progression and a lot harder from yesterday. So what we're going to do, keep the shoulders off the end of the bench. This is not going to work actually with these risers here. I'm going to have to move that out of the way. And what I'm going to do, now this allows my feet to go down into plantar flexion, and then I pull up into dorsiflexion. If anybody tried this yesterday, the one that I was showing, put a comment up and put any comments up for any questions that you have, because I'm going to finish this routine in a minute and this show will be over once I've answered everybody's questions, okay? But if you did this yesterday, let me know, because this is so much harder than it looks. You really feel your tibialis anterior and all the dorsiflexors in the foot working really hard. So that's your routine. It's an intermediate routine, so we've progressed from the most basic variations. Just by making these tiny changes and tiny adjustments, we're increasing the intensity of all of the exercises, which puts more demand on the muscle, which progresses your knee conditioning, okay? Let's get back into the studio, and I'll say it again, if any of you guys have questions, please sing them out to me so that I can answer them for you. So the thing with knee conditioning, what you really need to be aware of is it's one of these things, like, you know, people have ligament tears like MCL and ACL tears, people have meniscus tears, and it takes quite a bit of time for your knee to recover enough strength and stability to be able to take the load that you want to do it. So everybody wants to get back to squatting or pistol squats or their sport, you know, people want to get back to playing a sport as quick as they can. And what you need to understand is that when you're doing your knee conditioning, you need to work the range of motion that doesn't cause you pain. You don't want to be pushing deep into a range of motion that causes you pain, and you definitely want to avoid any lateral movement, which is pretty much any sport. You know, soccer, football, basketball, tennis, squash, anything that involves lateral movement, you don't want to be doing that while you're doing knee conditioning, because the lateral pressure on the knee can, with a lot of knee injuries, and I'm just using a blanket statement here because anybody that's watching this, I don't know what injury you've got, but that lateral pressure, it causes a lot of problems. So you want to make sure that you're strengthening in the, I can never remember if that's called the sagittal plane or the frontal plane, but just moving your knee back and forward like that through flexion and extension. But besides that, it's just about taking your time and going through the progressions. When I talked about with shoulder rehab, because it's more complex, you can sometimes progress the movements that you're doing a little bit quicker. I find with knee rehab, it's good to stick with the same program for at least 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, I find is a really good time frame to do it, because you just want to make that structure rock solid. The knee is a joint that's designed, you know, obviously it takes the weight of your whole body and it wants to be strong. We don't want to be adding complexity to it very soon. We want to keep things really simple and just focus on building up as much raw strength as possible. I hope that helped you guys. Tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be going into advanced knee conditioning, so we're going to be moving into the more advanced stuff, and then Thursday and Friday we're going to bring it into how you move out of knee conditioning and back into strength training, which is where everybody wants to be. Hope you guys got something out of that. Let me know if you have any questions, put them in the comments and I will answer them tomorrow for you. And besides that, have a great day.
Health is about performance, not just body image.
You better be willing to accept what you're going to have to do to get there.
We'll start focusing on movement goals, strength goals, flexibility goals.
When you nail that skill, that's there forever.
The body image goal doesn't get you that far.
It's the consistency and frequency that's going to get you there. It's not the intensity.
There's no shortcuts to mastery and movement. Destination doesn't change overnight, but your direction will.
The gym is not the place to beat up the body that you hate. It's the place to build the body that you love.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.